Today's guest is Dr. Barbara Ehrenreich, who is the author of more than a dozen books, including Nickel and Dimed and Bait and Switch. And today she'll be on to discuss her latest book, Bright-Sided, How the Relentless Promotion of Positive Thinking Has Undermined America. Enjoy the show. Barbara, would you like to start out by discussing who is Dr. Barbara Ehrenreich and what is your educational background?
Okay. It's a little hard question, bit of a hard question to answer. I have a PhD in cell biology, actually cellular immunology, and I did that, and then I got interested in becoming an activist for social change, and somehow willy-nilly found myself doing a lot of writing in my role. I was mainly originally an activist around healthcare issues, and bit by bit, that's what I came to define myself. I mean, that's what the IRS wants you to put down an occupation. I've started putting down writer at a certain point.
So would you like to talk about characters like Napoleon Hill, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, that sort of thing?
Well, in the 20th century, with the rise of scientific medicine, there was less interest in this as a healing method. And the whole New Thought idea or positive thinking movement kind of moved over into the areas of wealth and prosperity. Not how you could become healthy, but how you could become wealthy by using your mind alone, pretty much. And one of the great classics was a book, it was in the 30s, yeah, Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
Which tells you that you can just concentrate and focus your thoughts to bring money to yourself, to attract money to yourself out of the universe. And he actually thought it was magnetism was the force that would do this, that magnetism from your head would sort of magnetically attract. Gee, I don't know how this would work with bills or
right, because
coins,
they don't
anyway.
have, yeah. And much less copper or silver or nickel are not really attracted by magnets either.
No, but that was the idea. Tremendously popular book. It still sells. I see people on airplanes still reading Think and Grow Rich. But that idea...
Oh, that must just give you quite the giggle when you're sitting there and having written the antithesis of that.
Well, my heart sinks a little bit, but... and then corporations got at first interested in this kind of thinking as something for their sales forces, because it's really hard to be a salesperson. I've never been one, but I've known them, and I don't know if that's what you did.
Oh, I did work in sales for a time, and it was quite the eye-opening experience, because I've done a lot of study and things and religions and mind control and things like that, and I would see these techniques, and the bosses, to say the least, would get a little bit frustrated that I didn't fall in line as easily as they had hoped. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, did you have? I mean, like some salespeople. Amway would be a very good example. They're not even paid salespeople.
Oh, right.
They're subjected to constant motivational events.
One time somebody dragged me to an Amway event. Dude, you got to check it out. It's so wonderful. And so I went with them, and it was down at the Long Beach Sports Arena. They actually filled the entire Long Beach Sports Arena for this Amway event. And it was this whole thing about just like The Secret, dream your material goods, and you too can drive around in a limousine or a Ferrari, and you can have your 10-bedroom mansion. All you have to do is sell our Amway products and get all your friends to sell our Amway products. And they had all these people cheering and music, and it was like one of these mega church type things. But it was a sales pitch. I really walked out of there just sort of insulted by the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. bad attitude there on your part.
You're right. Thank you for pointing that out. I was using critical thinking, and that's not allowed.
Ooh, they have words for that kind of thing. That's called over-intellectualizing.
I know.
And that's called being negative.
Right. And we have things for it like use the trivium. And trivium education, things like that, which is a whole different topic that we can talk about another time. But yeah,
the companies.
Would you like to get a sip of water or something? Or it sounds like you've got the.
I'm fine. It's tail end of a cold, which I have tried to conquer with positive thinking, but it failed. Once again,
you're not being positive enough. It's a shallow positive. You need to go see a psychiatrist.
I guess so, or a life coach. That would be more like
a life coach. That's that's it.
Psychiatrist gets into the negative stuff,
right? And the more you have to pay the life coach for telling you how to live your life, the better, because you have to put that out there so that you can get it back.
Have you been to a life coach?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've been approached by a few, and I was like, okay. Have you used a life coach before?
I have used career coaches in the course of actually undercover research for another book, but it was a good introduction to what I was to find in the course of researching Bright-Sided. I was doing it while I was working on the book called Bait and Switch about white-collar unemployment. And I remember this one career coach I had, and I was paying her a ton of money for this kind of information. I said, I'm actually a little worried that my age is going to be held against me when I apply for jobs. And I know there's such a thing as age discrimination. She said, what age do you feel like you are? And I said, I didn't know what to say. And I said, well, I feel pretty good, maybe, how about 30? And she said, that's what you are. And so you see, you kind of skip right past empirical reality. What you want is what is true. And of course, in the course of that, you completely ignore the widespread and massive problem of age discrimination,
right?
Or any other kind of.
You're focusing on your own consciousness and forgetting about the collective outside reality consciousness in a way.
Well, you are denying that there is really any outside.
That's true.
This is very, very individualistic and almost selfish stuff. Like, a lot of what you'll be told to focus on to get in books like The Secret or Think and Get Rich, or in the programs of so many of these motivational speakers, is maybe something that somebody else wants too. But you just focus on yourself getting it. Like Joel Osteen, he's one of my favorite examples. He is the most positive thinking preacher in America, runs the biggest mega church in America in Houston, Texas. And he'll talk about how he uses God as a little bit of a personal assistant in these things, but he'll visualize himself getting the best parking spot in the lot, and he gets it. Now, and you can only read that and think, well, what about the people who, maybe have some kind of, problem walking and are stuck way over in the far end of the parking lot? But it's just about me, I'm going to get it.
What about if he's pulling into church one morning and there's 1,000 of his followers all wishing for the best spot?
That it's a problem, and no, I mean it does not include the notion of a larger, a human collective or human society.